What is up, everyone? Welcome to another edition of Diamond Talk. I'm George Ryder. This is my co-host, Jeremy. And tonight we're joined by a very special guest, WIPs 94.1's very own Jack Fritz. Jack, how you doing tonight?
Good. I had a nice, relaxing Phil's win today. Don't get many of those, so it was a good day.
Yeah, can't complain. We can jump right into it. Are the Phils back?
I would love for them to be back, but losing 2 or 3 to that Pirates team, which is just dreadful. It's hard to say they're back when they do that. So I'll say no, but it's a good week to be back because the Nationals just sold their whole roster the trade deadline. So but they'll probably split and everyone will be upset. So.
Yeah, it's typically how it usually goes this year. So, I guess jumping right into the trade deadline, Spencer Howard's gone. Spencer Howard, Kevin Gowdy, Josh Gesner headed to Texas, bringing back Kyle Gibson, Ian Kennedy, and Hans Kraus. Phillies clearly didn't think Howard was going to be a part of the future moving forward. He's been frustrating. We all know that. Very up and down for the former top 100 prospect. 25 years old, 52 2/3 career innings, 5.81 ERA, 4.86 FIP. Just not what you really want to see, what we expected. Fans seem to have mixed reactions on the trade. Just kind of want to see where your head's at with everything.
Yeah, I think it's 2 things. I think Kyle Gibson is good, and I think he'll help this team. We saw that today. And he's not going to be, unbelievable. He's not going to come out and, strike out 10 guys to start and all that. So he's a ground ball guy that, you hope he's getting ground balls that night. And Ian Kennedy's fine. He's had 30 saves a couple years ago with the Royals, and he was pitching well this year. His ERA is now around 2.5, but it's just like it was a dumb trade. It was a dumb trade flat out. Spencer Howard has been frustrating, and honestly, I was cool giving him up. It was just I would rather give him up for a guy who is better than Kyle Gibson, and could help for more than 1 year and is 33 years old and all that fun stuff. So. It's obviously frustrating. They've given Vinny Velasquez 6 years and Spencer Howard gets 2 months and they decide to give up on him. And the frustrating part is that you see him and you see his stuff and it pops for 3 innings and then he falls apart. I just don't like the idea of giving up that premium of talent, which is, he was a top 25 prospect in the system, this offseason. So still really highly thought of around the league as late as then. If they traded him then, you're probably getting a way better player than Kyle Gibson. But to sour on him that quickly and just completely sell him off for pieces that are just fine and not earth-shattering. And also, it was one of those moves, 2 things where, they're half in, half out. Like, if you're going to give up your number 1 pitching prospect, do more than just bring back Freddie Galvis. And 2, they got $4 million back and to stay under the luxury tax. And I feel like this is another example, just like the Connor Seabold and Nick Pivetta trade last year, where they're trying to they had to give up more premium of a prospect just to stay under the luxury tax. So it was a frustrating trade. I wouldn't be shocked if he goes to Texas and turns into a really good pitcher and helps that team for a long time. He obviously could not. That's kind of the nature of the business when it comes to prospects, but I was pretty frustrated and still remain frustrated.
Do you think that how high of a value do you think he really would have been if we added other prospects? Do you think we could have gotten someone like Jose Barrios if he was added onto that deal with a couple other guys, or how much bigger of a name do you think we could have gotten except for Kyle Gibson?
Well, there's the guy in Baltimore, John Means, who has 3 more years of control, and I think if you gave up more, you could have gotten him along with Spencer Howard. Spencer Howard was the face of this deal for Kyle Gibson, and the best they could do was Kyle Gibson. So I do think that it's not that he's still a good pitcher and he's a year left to control, and that's really valuable. But you would think that if you can put him in a deal and put some of your other top prospects in there, that he could have got an actual game changer. And Barrios is a guy that would have done that. I like John Means a lot. There's a couple stars out there that would have been in that criteria. Whatever. He's gone. They clearly didn't believe in him. They know better than we do, hopefully, how he's wired. So we'll see. But on the surface, just wasn't a huge fan.
Right.
Yeah, we kind of got mixed opinions on that one because I'm kind of on the same boat as you. I feel like we sold low. I feel like we gave up on the kid. Jeremy kind of likes the trade a little bit more. So
yeah,
a bunch of mixed opinions.
Honestly, I'm not totally upset about it. I'm not sure that I think that Spencer Howard could have been given up for much more. I mean, obviously, yeah, if we added on a lot more prospects that we could have gotten for someone like John Means or someone even as high as Jose Barrios, yeah, obviously I would have rathered that. But I really don't think Spencer Howard, with the point he's at, I don't think he could have been much better than we've seen right now. And honestly, I mean, yeah, obviously getting more, that's always better. But I just don't know how much of a possibility that would have been because a lot of other teams weren't very big fans of Spencer Howard anymore.
Well, they sold him at the absolute lowest too, and that was part of their doing. I mean, they basically were like, "Hey, you're going to be a reliever. Oh, wait, you don't like being a reliever. We're going to make you a starter." And then they're like, "Oh, we're going to emergency bring you up to the big leagues." Like, if you're going to send him down because you want to stretch him out, just sit him down and let him get stretched out. Don't rush him back to the big leagues and take over for Zach Eflin, and then be surprised when he's not fully stretched out, and then trade him 2 weeks later. You know? So, I mean, it was the ultimate sell low, and they were still able to get at least a major league quality arm and a closer. So, you know, if they let him get fully stretched out, rebuild that velocity, and, you know, come back next year and you know, hopefully be in a better place, then I think they would have done better than giving up on him this quickly.
Yeah, I could totally see that too, honestly. Other news that's going on is that Ranger Suarez is now replacing Matt Moore in the rotation tomorrow night in Washington. Supposed to go around 3 innings, anywhere from like 45 to 50 pitches, around that range. He's been one of the most dominant guys in our bullpens right now, going around 40 innings with a 1.12 ERA. I'm not a very big fan of the move about him moving to kind of like an opener role, but what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, it feels like they're starting to do the thing where they're moving guys around that are finally getting, you know, used to one role. And, you know, and I do get where they're coming from. You know, they need innings. They need guys that can give them a few innings and not be total dumpster fires. And I don't think that Ranger's going to be a dumpster fire. So I get it. And honestly, Bailey Falter not being able to go is really screwing them because he would be in this spot, and then you could have Ranger continue to do what he does, whether or not it was closer or, you know, more high leverage situations and stuff like that. But yeah, it's just like the guy's a 1.12 ERA. Like if you just took out the prospect status, took out the age, and you traded for a guy who had a 1.12 ERA and it had those saves and all those numbers in late inning games, you'd be freaking out.
Yeah.
And then they're putting him back in the rotation. It's like, well, what's the plan here? Like, because he was obviously he's groomed as a starter. Everyone knows he's groomed as a starter, but when a guy finds a role, a guy finds a role. So it seems like a knee-jerk reaction. And, you know, Ian Kennedy did welcome himself to the Phillies today with a nice little 2-run banger in the ninth. So, you know, he fit right in. I like Ranger back there. I don't think there's many guys that can kind of go into those situations, have the stones to throw strikes in tough situations. The Red Sox 7-out save was one of the most impressive things I've seen a Phillies pitcher do in forever. I mean, there was 2 different situations where it was bases loaded, 3-2 counts, back-to-back hitters, and he threw 3-2 changeups to each one of them and struck them out. Like that takes stones, and I think he's a back-end option. I don't know if he's a long-term closer, but and the thing is, like, he hasn't been a good starter in the major league level. He hasn't been good at all. So it's a little frustrating. I think he kind of found a home there, what he was doing. And I just again, hope they're right.
I'm afraid they're going to mess him up again.
Yeah. I don't know. He seems like a guy that can handle it. You know, he's very, you know, flatlined. And I don't know. They haven't had a good track record, let's say, of these things working out.
Yeah, the way he's been mentally just in it this year in the bullpen, it feels like he could probably take on any role, but we've seen him as a starter and we've seen him as a bullpen guy this year, and he's been so effective. It's just kind of a weird move that hopefully works.
Yeah, exactly. And the thing with him at the back of the bullpen was he was throwing a fastball changeup and it was working. And now he's going to have to relearn that third pitch, that slider, and see how that goes. So that doesn't sit well with me. I really like the fastball changeup combo. I think that was a good, you know, kind of 2-pitch mix. It's tough to pick up on with his deception. And now he's going to have to go back to the third pitch. So we'll see. But again, like, he's going to give you 3 innings tomorrow. Like, sweet. Great. That doesn't really change like the whole trajectory of the team.
No, and another thing I'm curious about your opinion on is Freddie Galvis because Didi has been not good this year. He's hitting
He's hot. He's hot.
3 for 5 today.
He was, yep.
Right? He's hitting
Yep.
212 this year, 644 OPS.
Ugh.
Galvis is going to give you better defense. He's hitting 249. He has a 720 OPS on the year. If you're Girardi, what are you doing? Are you giving Galvis a chance to come in and replace Didi? I don't even know if I could use the word replace, but just give him starts and see how he does over him.
Well, what you're hoping is that today you're going to see more of that from Didi. They make the trade for Freddie, and Didi all of a sudden starts hitting. Hopefully that's kind of one of those moves that kind of gets him going a little bit. Here's the thing: like Didi when he's going right, he's a difference-making bat in this lineup. If you can have a Didi, the Didi that we saw. I mean, Didi, in my opinion, was their most consistent hitter last year. Like I thought he consistently came up with big hits and big hits and big hits. And I know he's still recovering from the arm thing. You hope he's getting healthier, and we're seeing more of that. The defense has just been shockingly bad. Like I can't believe it's been so dreadful. But they keep playing him and they keep getting him out there, and you hope that today kind of jumpstart him a little bit. Freddie, I actually wonder if there's a chance they put him in center field and see if he can figure that out. He is athletic enough to kind of do it. And he's a fantastic fielder, great instincts, all that stuff. The most important part of the Freddie acquisition to me was honestly just his locker room presence. And, I think this team needs a leader like that. And obviously it's hard to be a leader when you're barely playing and all that stuff. But he just has such a great personality and a guy that everyone seems to kind of gravitate towards in a locker room. And he seems so happy to be back. I heard on the radio broadcast today, like he put on the Phillies hat again. He's like, wasn't sure it was for real. And like, you just love to hear that. You just love to hear that. So, I think he's going to bring a lot of stability when it comes to, Girardi is addicted to double switching. So it gives you some good late inning, defense in the infield if you need to make that move. I think it gives them really good leadership. It gives him a guy that, kind of knows how the game is played and can kind of, say like, hey, you're better than that. Teammates love the guy. And really it's just a better version of Ronald Torreyes. And Torreyes has been unbelievable. And I don't know where the Phillies would be at if they didn't have him this year, but he's a limited player. I mean, that's just is what it is. So if he can come in and play good second, third, short, if they want to put him in center field, we'll see. But I think he brings a lot of versatility and brings some leadership and, genuinely loves being a Philly. It plays really hard, and it's like a no risk, semi good upside move for them. And it's cool to see Freddie back.
Yeah, I think it's a really good nostalgic factor for the fans too, because all of us remember watching him play like a couple years ago and everything, and everyone seeing his smile. Yeah, like you were really spot on there. Him putting on the hat it was honestly just something really amazing to see and everything like that. Having someone in Philadelphia being this happy to play for this team, which, a lot of guys that once they leave Philly, they don't talk very well about them after. But seeing someone coming back and be this happy to be part of this team, it was really good to see.
Well, it's not even like those teams are special. They were terrible.
Yeah.
Like, there's nothing fun about those teams at all. Except for Freddie's like, it's so great to be back. You sure? It's good. A guy I wanted them to trade for at the deadline was Miguel Rojas, the Marlins shortstop. And this is kind of the same kind of thing. I mean, everyone kind of know Rojas is not the most amazing player in the sport, but he's kind of the emotional leader of that team. And you saw that Marlins team last year. I mean, they had a little special quality about him. So yeah, I mean, it's great if Didi continues to slide here a little bit. Freddie can go play shortstop. If one of them gets banged up, he can move right in. Boom. I think is hitting the ball much better. Still not driving the ball to the ballpark, but whatever. We'll take your slap hits at this point. Mm-hmm. But if he is just criminally bad defensively, then he could put Freddie there. And I do think center field is a legit option, although I don't think he's ever played it. But he is athletic enough if they need him to.
Yeah, definitely. I think I would really like that move of hanging someone else in center because a Double out there, along with everything else that's happened, like keeping that away, but everything. He started off hot, but again, now he's down to batting 8th in the lineup again. I think everyone just kind of saw this coming, a Double coming up, having a little bit of a hot streak, and then just coming back down. So having someone, if we can teach Galvis how to do it, I mean, and I'm not going to say it's easy to do. Like obviously, like there's something like that I could do. But we have the personnel that you could teach Freddie Galvis how to play center field. He's a major league baseball player. He's an athlete. He knows how to make the adjustments to do it.
Right, and if you're talking about the outfield position, center field is widely regarded as the easiest because it's the easiest to get reads on. So yeah, I mean, he's not like the fastest guy. He's always just been fast enough. But I just think that if desperate times call for desperate measures and O'Double's down to like 235, I think.
Yeah.
And it's just classic. I mean, he comes back and he's on fire, and then for a month and a half, he's just terrible. So, and you never know when that O'Double like next hot streak's coming. So you can just, and like honestly, like was it Friday night? The Pirates pitcher, I think it was still Pro. Like walks 2 guys in the inning. His bases loaded, and then he's just hacking the first 2 pitches.
Like, everything.
Yeah, I'm good. So it's good to have Freddie back, and I wasn't a huge fan when he was here, just because like everyone's talking about the leader, like Freddie when he was here was put in a bad position because Pete Buchanan kept batting him in the 2-hole, and like he's just so not a 2-hole hitter. He's a 7-8 hitter that plays good defense, and they try to turn him into something he wasn't. So wasn't a huge fan then, but definitely a big fan of him coming back on this team.
I got something for you, Jack. Scotty asked, Modelo or Corona?
It's funny. I used to be a big Corona guy, but Modelo Especial is amazing. I turned into a big fan. A big fan of that, and it's because I thought I was going to be a Corona guy if I go out to a Mexican restaurant to have food, but Modelo has overtaken Corona.
It's a big upset.
It is an upset, but I like it. It's a very good beer. Good job, Scotty. Good job.
Yeah, so with the trade deadline being over, we saw the moves that the Mets made, how the Nationals gave up everyone, and just how the entire division has dealt with the entire trade deadline. Do you think the Phillies are still going to be contenders, or do you think they even have a chance of winning the NL East?
I mean, yeah, the division's just terrible. So
yeah, 3.5 games out.
Yeah, by default they're going to be in it, and the Mets just. They find ways to lose games just like the Phillies. They brought in Javi, and obviously he's electric. But there's a lot of strikeouts there too. There's a lot of Ks. So, but obviously if Lindor comes back, him and them up the middle, like I don't know if a ground ball is going to get by. Like they're just insane. But like if they can just go on a little bit of a run here, and like we've been saying. Yeah, like we've been saying all year, like just go on a little bit of a run and you'll be right in it. And they just have not capitalized on it. But like, I mean, they lost 2 or 3 this weekend up in New York. They should have lost 3. Saturday they came back and won and all that stuff. But like the Phillies were right there. They didn't lose any ground this weekend. They were right in it. And I'm not going to say why not the Phillies because they've been just as brutal as ever this year. But they're 3.5 games out. And if Kyle Gibson can be good enough, I thought Nola was really good again last night. Mm-hmm. Wheeler is Wheeler. And then you just hope Eflin can get back soon and can pitch to the capabilities we know he can. I mean, that's a good 4. And then we'll see what Ranger does and all that. And then really it comes down to the offense. I mean, the offense on paper is very good, but they've been inconsistent. So, but yeah, I don't know. There's no reason why they can't. It's just going to come down to whether or not they can play well enough and figure it out because it's been a whole season of frustration.
It feels really good that we can say Zach Wheeler is just going to be Zach Wheeler. Like being able to say that we signed him to that long of a deal and, we know that he can actually do Zach Wheeler things. It's something phenomenal to actually have because we were a little bit worried about it. We kept on hearing the overpaid because that's all that we ever get here in Philly because he did get paid a lot of money, but right now he's making up for it. He's doing exactly he's doing more than what we wanted out of him.
Yeah, it's actually crazy that a Phillies free agent signing worked out well. I'm not used to that happening. So yeah, that's just like I'm so used to these guys just coming in and not living up to the hype, and like for him to take the Garrett Cole level leap from when Cole went from Pittsburgh to Houston here, it's just insane. So yeah, it's about time we got one of these right. And, he's just every start, even when he doesn't have his good stuff, it's still 6 innings, 2 runs or less. And it's just so nice to be able to rely on that and have that consistency. And it's just, I think, I don't know the general sentiment on Caleb Coffin in the city, but I think his presence has really helped Zach Wheeler. Just being a guy that can rely on the data and kind of fix, because last year, like Wheeler's fastball had some cutting action to it.
Yep.
And he was getting a lot of ground balls, which is great. But like, if you want to actually sustain success, you need to be able to strike guys out. And they fixed it this year. It has much more horizontal spin to it. And it has a little bit of rise to it versus that cutting action, which is creating the ground balls and stuff. So, I just think that Coffin's been really, really integral in Wheeler's breakout.
Yeah, and a big topic today, kind of off topic, but the Mets failed to sign Kumar Rocker, the richest owner in baseball. Can they get it done? What are your thoughts on that? I mean, obviously, freaking awesome. I love to see that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's great. It's great that the Mets aren't signing him. And yeah, so he's not going back to Vanderbilt, and he's just going to start preparing for next year's draft. And it's crazy. I mean, because Kumar, heading into the year, everyone was like, obviously the number 1 pick in the draft, like should be the number 1 pick. But like, he wasn't that great this year. Like Leiter definitely surpassed him. If I like Jackson Joby, I definitely would have taken over him. His fastball just didn't jump out to me. And if they're seeing concerning medical stuff already, I just don't know how that ages. Brady Aiken is a guy who went number 1 in 2014 and slam dunk number 1 overall pick. And after the draft, they looked at his medicals and they were like, oh crap. And they didn't sign him, and he's not even came close to reaching the major leagues. So, I hope he's healthy. I hope that he can stay healthy, but it just seems like there's something on those medicals, and the Mets are like, the Mets didn't even make him an offer, which is crazy. So there must be something wrong with that arm, but it's just, how do you draft him? If did you not do a medical report? I don't know. It's just crazy to me.
I highly doubt they found something directly after they drafted him. It was like, oh no, we messed up, so now we're not going to sign him. Like something had to have happened, and only God knows right now.
Yeah, well, at least he's not coming to the NL East. So.
Exactly.
So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, sadly, we can move on to the Pirates series. Getting 1 hit by the Pirates, losing 2 out of 3. It's not ideal, but Kyle Gibson made his debut today. 6 2/3 innings, 5 hits, 2 earned runs. He had a high pitch count, went deep into the game. It's exactly what we want out of our starters. Bats were super hot. Did anything stand out to you on the Gibson start? And also, we did see Ian Kennedy. Not a great debut. 25 pitches. Definitely don't like that. Let up a homer. Just kind of overall thoughts on the new guys in pinstripes.
Yeah, he threw 25 pitches, and they have 7 straight after this. So I'm glad that Girardi got him some work today, and he might not be able to pitch tomorrow. So whatever.
Suarez game too.
Right. The one thing I did like about Ian Kennedy, though, is that he came in and threw strikes. He came in 94, just kind of wherever he wanted it. And, that should be something going forward that you can kind of rely on. It's nice having a reliever just come in and throw strikes. Unfortunately, one of them got hit, 415 feet, but that happens. I thought Gibson was good. It's kind of what I expected. It was a lot of ground balls, which is fine. It's just that the Phillies defense is terrible. So it's like, I just don't know if that's going to translate all year long. He had some swing and miss with the slider. He got deep into games. It seemed like he could kind of, if he got 3-1, he was able to get back into account with 3-2 pitch or 3-1 pitch and make it 3-2 and all that. So honestly, just looked like a normal professional pitcher, which is great.
Crazy to see for us.
Yes, I'll take it. And honestly, I hope Eflin watches him. because I think him and Eflin have very similar stuff, and I think that Eflin could be Kyle Gibson if he kind of gets back on track and gets healthy here. But yeah, he seems like a guy that's going to help him. It wasn't like blown away, but I thought, hey, there's a real pitcher. I'll take it.
Yeah, and when we went up to it was the tie game a couple nights ago, and we brought in Jose Alvarado in that tied game. Well, that's exactly what I expected. Yeah.
What do you think was going to happen? Like, I mean, seriously, the guy walks the ballpark. Like, to bring him into a tie game, I thought was insane. So I would have used Kennedy. Plus, it also, when Reynolds came up, it switched him around from a lefty to a righty. He's a better right-handed hitter than he's a lefty.
Yep.
Like, whoa, what are we
doing? Doesn't make sense.
So I would have put Kennedy in, and I mean, I would rather that than a 15-2 blowout. But I don't know. It was frustrating. I wasn't like surprised. I was just waiting for it to happen, and unfortunately, it did. So whatever. We'll take it. We'll move on.
Right. Yeah. I mean, you'd love to see Kennedy out there more than Jose Alvarado in tied games and everything like that.
Why'd you pick him up? Like, why'd you trade for him if you're not going to?
Yeah. Exactly. So yeah, we just got done with that Pirates series, and then coming on next, we have Washington in a 4-game series. After the trade happened with the Nationals, Scherzer and Turner going to LA, which was the most blockbuster deal in the entire season. That was completely nuts. And having Suarez tomorrow. We know we have Wheeler on Tuesday and Chase Anderson after. What's your outlook going into this series? And like, do you think we can carry our pop bats into tomorrow? Do you think everything will, transpire all right?
I'm begging them.
Of course. Yeah.
And I do. I do think the first 2 games on the road trip, you've been home for a while, trade deadline happens, you go out there, you're just not really, ready to go in a sense. But now they've been on the road, they're kind of used to it for a little bit. You hope that it kind of translates down to the Washington series. But, everyone brought up, a month ago where they were playing well. They went on that 10-4 run, and people were talking about how they had the second, the easiest schedule in baseball in the second half. And it's like, that's great, but they always play down the competition. They always it's why they can't beat the freaking Marlins every year, because they just don't rise up and just beat the bad teams that are right in front of them. And they did it again this weekend against the Pirates. Like the Pirates seem to play more inspired than they did, and that's insane to me. So, I would love to be like, oh, we're going to take 3 or 4. We're going to sweep, because the Nationals, like, I don't think I could name 5 players in the roster right now.
Seriously.
Like they have Victor Robles batting leadoff, and he's like the worst hitter in baseball. So
yeah, he's batting just barely over 200 this year.
And they're starting a reliever in at least one of those games, Espino. Yeah. So, like, I mean, they're dreadful. And they trade away all their bullpen pieces, and then we'll split. Like, we're going to split with them. I don't know how, but we're going to split with them. So
this season's gone.
Yeah, it's just how it's going to go. And then they'll play some good team at home, take 2 or 3 or 3 or 4, and we'll be back in.
Full circle, like the whole season.
Yeah, there's no doubt in my mind.
So, kind of off topic, but I mean, a lot of trades happened. It was kind of one of the biggest trade deadlines we've seen in a long time. Gabe Kapler, Team of Destiny Giants, getting Chris Bryant. He goes in there, hits a homer his first game. Just thoughts on Gabe Kapler just going into San Fran with a team that should not be in first place on paper and just transforming them. They're 3 games up right now in that really tough division. Did we make a mistake?
Well, it's hard not to say. I mean, of course they made a mistake. The whole idea that the Phillies' problems were all Gabe Kapler's fault, I always thought was insane.
We're all Gabe Kapler guys.
But both of us are Gabe Kapler guys here.
It was ridiculous. It's like, first of all, I felt that most people didn't like Gabe because they didn't think he was authentic, and I agreed. Like, I thought it was a little much. Like, oh yeah, we lost 9-3, but we really battled in the 9th. It's like, come on, like you don't have to go that far with it. And I genuinely felt like the Gabe criticisms were way more about his press conferences rather than like actually on the field. Everyone brought up, oh, well, he pulled Nola after 68 pitches, and he had Hobie Milner not warmed up, ready to come to a game. And it's like, that happened once in his first weekend as a manager, but that just sunk his whole career here. So, the thing I was worried about with him here was that it felt like his message was starting to fall on deaf ears in the locker room. And it didn't seem like they really bought in. But I always felt like when I was watching the games, I thought he was making the right moves. It just felt like they never worked out. Like, I'm not the biggest Girardi guy, but also I feel like every move he makes, even the ones I agree with, they always backfire. So maybe we're just cursed. I don't know. But honestly, with Gabe, and I feel like this isn't brought up enough, like Farhan Zahidi is unbelievable at his job. Like, Gabe's not getting these guys he's not getting Di Sclafani to start spinning his curveball more and like using his fastball and stuff in 96. He's not getting Kevin Gausman to add more sink to his splitter. Like, he's not doing this kind of stuff. Like, that's not the manager. That's the GM that is having his player development and data-driven staff get the most out of these players. Gabe's using them well. That's fine. Like, Darren Ruff is like 15th in like expected WOBA. And it's like, how? Because they have a developmental staff that knows how to develop these guys and get the most out of them. Like, that was the most impressive part of watching the Phil's Giants series from a couple of weeks ago. Was like a guy like Steven Duggar who like stinks. And like, if he went elsewhere, he'd be terrible. But there, it's like he has a perfect approach. He knows how to launch and knows how to do these things. So I think Gabe is more the beneficiary of Farhan being such a wizard. And I think Gabe's just kind of there doing fine. But also like, and another, like Longoria's having an unbelievable bounce back year. Yeah. Crawford, Posey. And that's from the staff and development. And you're doing this. This is how you can get more out of that. So Gabe's doing fine, but I don't think Farhan's getting enough credit.
Yeah. I've always been a huge Gabe Kapler guy. I always regret the decision. I actually didn't. When you just explained all that to me, that actually makes a lot more sense. I mean, I wasn't giving Kapler all of the credit about how he's the reason why the Giants are the best team in baseball right now. But actually thinking about that more and more, like how the GM brought in the right guys. They're the one doing it all, and Gabe Kapler's just there. He's not doing nothing, but yeah, giving credit to the other guys. The GM is doing an amazing job in everything that he is doing.
Well, what can a manager really do? Like,
true, exactly.
Very, very minimum. It's a very overrated position.
Yeah, like a manager, all they really have to do is manage a bullpen. Like, just manage a bullpen, keep guys healthy, and get a pinch hitter in there when you want to decide to pull your pitcher in National League Baseball. So, I mean, he's doing fine, but I just think that how they have it set up out there is more about like their player development staff than
yeah,
runs deeper. Yeah. And I guess now we can touch on the Nationals completely gutting everything. Max Scherzer gone, Trey Turner gone. The Dodgers, that team is, wow. Like, on paper, they're just absolutely stacked. Yeah. Is anybody in the NL going to have a chance against that team?
Well, I think the Padres will. I think the Padres can still do it. I don't think they're as talented, and we'll see with Tatis, coming back from injury. Other than that, I mean, like, if they get into a 5-game series with the Brewers and they throw those 3 and, kind of see what happens. See, the great thing about baseball, and you never know if the Phils make the playoffs. Like, just watch out with Dodgers. I would be very afraid. But the thing with baseball, like, I think the NBA super teams thing definitely has hurt the league a lot. And this year was an anomaly, obviously, with the 2 teams that were playing in the finals. Like, they weren't the most loaded teams, but injuries and whatnot. But it seems like the best teams always win in basketball. But the great thing about baseball is that anyone can be beat in any night. Like, Mookie could go cold. Like, Scherzer could be off his game. Trey Turner could be off his game. And he can be beat. So it's going to be intriguing to watch. They'll probably roll. But the thing with baseball is that you can lose any night, no matter how great, look at the 2011 Phils, man. Like, they were what this Dodgers team was, in a sense. Obviously not as good, but they were loaded and they lost to a Cardinals team that wasn't as good.
Yeah, and so that was kind of like the NL team that really went out and got a bunch of guys. But in the AL, we saw the Yankees go out and get some stars out there. Do you think that the trades they made, do you think that's really going to lead them to win the division, or do you think that the Rays and the Red Sox kind of just haven't handled?
Well, it's just so funny. Like, why did the Yankees decide this is the year we're gonna go all in? Like, I think there were 8.
Very odd.
Yeah, I think there were like 8 out when they make
Yeah.
those trades. Yeah, and it's just like this is the year. So like, yeah, I think the Gallo move I thought was stupid. It's like you already have Judge and Stanton. Like, what do you need another guy? Like, you don't get extra points for hitting balls 450. Like it just I think they needed more guys like Anthony Rizzo, which is a 300-ish hitter. They could put the bat to the baseball and play winning style of game. So I really love the Rizzo move. I liked Gallo's fine. Like, if you're going to add a guy, like I wouldn't hate to add Joey Gallo. It just kind of felt like they were doubling down on guys that they already had that struck out a ton, hit a ton of homers, and it's just like, really, we're going to do the same thing over and over and over again. So it was weird, but I think the Rays and Red Sox are just better. But they went out this weekend. They haven't lost since they added Rizzo to the lineup. So it could kind of be something that jump started them. But it's it's just interesting that this was the year that they were like, all right, well,
let's do it now.
Yeah, let's just go in now. Let's do it. So it was interesting, and we'll see how it plays out.
Yeah, like unless Joey Gallo can pitch for him, we'll see what happens. We'll see if they can come back. I think you'll like this question. What's your favorite pitch to throw back in the day?
Well, the pitch that got me my scholarship was the cutter, and then as soon as I got to college, I forgot how to throw it. So that's the only reason I'm sitting here today is because I forgot how to throw my cutter. So my favorite pitch to strike someone out on was a changeup because I thought it was funny. It's like, you thought that was a fastball, didn't you? And they'd be like way out in front of it. But the cutter was just the equalizer. It was like, it wasn't like a traditional like Mo cutter that was like went far and then cut. It was it was like a hard slider in a sense. Mm-hmm. I held it like Rivera because I found his grip, and in high school it was great. And then I literally haven't been able to find it since. It's unbelievable. Markel Fritz, some say. So.
All right. So one more thing. If you're Dombrowski, right, you're looking right now. We know what happened. We know the trades that went down. Would you have rather just have stand pat, do nothing?
Probably. I mean, I would have made the Freddie trade. Again, if you're going to trade Spencer Howard, I would have just rather you go more in. Like if you're going to say you were win now, give up your number one prospect. I know he wasn't at the time, but 2-3 months ago, he was your number one prospect. Like if you're going to be willing to give him up, make another move. Really give yourself a chance to kind of go for it. So at this point, I would have rather stood pat. I get why they did it. They want to not do anything. I just kind of felt like if you're really going to do it, do it. I didn't want them to give up McAble. Stott, I would have given up in a deal, but not like a Kyle Gibson deal. Like if I'm giving up Stott, has to be in a Buxton deal, a Buxton and plus. So I just felt like it was kind of a half in, half out move, and Spencer Howard being the main person used just didn't sit well with me.
You got anything else to touch on, Jeremy?
I think that's honestly everything that I really had for him.
Jack, dude, thank you so much for coming on. Really do appreciate it. It was a great show. Everyone check him out on 90.1 WIP. Check out the High Hopes pod. Any last words?
Listen, Top 5 at 5 is the most electric radio segment out there. Listen to that every day at 5 on Marks and Reese. It was fun, guys. Anytime.
Yeah, awesome, man. Really appreciate it. Go Phils. Thanks everyone for tuning in. Have a good night.